The instructor commanded, "Bond with your creature." The human whistled and every beast answered. The moment the alpha's collar died, the change rippled through the swarm. Void raptors stopped their assault on the facility. Hundreds of creatures turned toward their alpha, waiting for her signal. The sudden silence was deafening. "What's happening?" Voth's voice came through the comm, tense and confused. The alpha responded, Day said, keeping his hand on the massive creature's scarred head. "Mireille, can you examine her collar?" Mireille's ship landed nearby. She emerged cautiously, medical scanner in hand. The Void Raptors watched her but didn't attack. Their alpha remained calm under Day's touch, though tremors still ran through her massive frame. Mireille scanned the dead collar, her expression growing darker with each reading. "This is horrific." The collar was designed to amplify pain and aggression. It's been active for weeks, maybe months. These creatures weren't attacking because they're naturally violent. They were being tortured into it. By who? Day asked. "I don't know, but the technology signature matches black market weapons development. Someone was testing aggression enhancement systems on living creatures." Hana's voice came over the comm from the ship. "I'm detecting similar collar signatures across the entire swarm. Every raptor has one." The alpha made a low, pained sound. Now that the collar was inactive, Day could see the burned skin beneath it, the old wounds where the device had been forcibly attached. He looked at the hundreds of other raptors, all suffering the same torment. "We need to shut them all down," Day said. "The collars are networked," Mireille reported, studying her scanner. "If I can access the alpha's collar programming, I might be able to broadcast a shutdown signal. But I need time." "How much time?" "At least an hour. Maybe more." Commander Voth had emerged from the facility with her team. 20 exhausted students and 5 injured instructors approached cautiously. Taeyang was among them, his armor damaged, his flame drake rock limping beside him. Voth stared at the scene before her, Day standing calmly among hundreds of void raptors, his hand on their alpha. The creatures that had been trying to kill her team minutes ago now resting peacefully. "Explain," Voth said simply. Day did. He told her about the collars, the torture, the black market testing. About how the raptors weren't monsters, just victims. Voth's expression grew colder with each detail. "Someone used these creatures as test subjects," Voth said. "Turned them into weapons against their will." She looked at her students. "We're going to find who did this. But first we help these creatures." Mireille set up her equipment near the alpha. "The shutdown will take time. The collars are designed to be tamper-proof. If I rush it, I might cause a feedback loop that would kill the creatures." "Then we wait," Voth said. She signaled her team. "Set up a defensive perimeter. Not to keep the raptors out, but to protect them while we work." The academy students and instructors formed a circle around the swarm. It was surreal, protecting the same creatures that had been trying to kill them an hour ago. But Day saw understanding on their faces. These were beast riders. They knew what it meant to bond with creatures. To see them tortured like this awakened something protective in all of them. Taeyang approached Day while Mireille worked. His red scales were dulled with exhaustion and he carried himself differently. The arrogance was gone. "I need to tell you something," Taeyang said quietly. Day waited. "I sabotaged Ash. I put the aggression inducer in its food." Taeyang couldn't meet his eyes. "I was jealous, angry. I couldn't accept that a human could bond better than me. I wanted to prove you were wrong." "I know," Day said. "Hana found the security footage." Taeyang looked up, surprised. "You knew? Then why did you come to rescue us?" "Because people needed help. What you did was wrong, but I wasn't going to let you die for it." Taeyang stood silent for a long moment. Around them, void raptors rested, waiting for relief from their pain. Finally, Taeyang spoke. "I was trained that beast riding is about dominance, about forcing creatures to submit. But watching you with that alpha, you didn't dominate her. You understood her." "Every creature speaks," Day said, repeating his grandfather's words. "You just have to listen. Can you teach me?" Taeyang asked. "How to listen instead of dominate." Day looked at the Vraxian student, at the genuine remorse in his expression. "Yeah, I can teach you." Mireille worked for 3 hours, carefully programming a shutdown sequence. The academy team took shifts guarding the perimeter and tending to their own injured. Day stayed with the alpha the entire time, keeping her calm. "The creatures trust you," Voth observed, standing beside him. "All of them. Not just your bonded beasts." "I don't know why," Day admitted. "I think I do," Voth said. Most riders approach beasts with an agenda. We want them to serve us, fight for us, make us stronger. But you approach them differently. You see them as individuals. You care about what they need. Is that wrong? No, Voth said softly. I think it might be exactly right. I've been a rider for 30 years. I bonded with my void serpent through traditional Keltharian methods. Pheromone matching, dominance assertion. But watching you, I wonder if I missed something, if my bond could have been deeper. It's not too late, Day said. Voth smiled, a rare expression. Perhaps not. Finally, Mireille stood up from her equipment. I've got it. The shutdown sequence is ready. This will broadcast to every caller in range and deactivate them permanently. But there's a risk. If the callers are booby-trapped, the shutdown might trigger a final aggression surge before they die. What do we do? Day asked. Mireille looked at the Alpha. You'll need to keep her calm. If she panics, the whole swarm will panic. Can you do that? Day met the Alpha's eyes. Saw intelligence there and pain and hope. Yes, everyone ready, Voth commanded. Her team raised their shields, prepared for anything. On Mireille's signal, Mireille activated the sequence. The collars across the swarm lit up simultaneously, glowing bright red. The Void Raptors tensed, feeling the surge of aggression programming try to activate one last time. The Alpha roared, fighting the command. Her muscles bunched to attack. Every raptor in the swarm responded to her distress, preparing to charge. Day didn't use weapons or shields. He stepped closer to the Alpha and began whistling. The same tune from the first day at the academy. The tune his grandfather taught him. Simple and clear and full of peace. The Alpha's roar faded. She turned her head toward Day, focusing on the sound. Fighting the caller's command. Fighting the pain and anger that had controlled her for so long. Day added words to his whistle, speaking softly. You're stronger than this. You're not a weapon. You're not a monster. You're a mother protecting your pack. And it's over now. The pain is ending. You can rest. The Alpha trembled. The collar sparked violently. Then with a sound like rain on metal, every collar in the swarm died simultaneously. Red lights faded to black. 200 Void Raptors collapsed where they stood, freed from torment but exhausted beyond measure. The Alpha sank to the ground, her massive head resting near Day's feet. She made a sound he'd never heard before. Not a roar or a growl. Something softer. Almost like crying. Day knelt beside her. Around them, Void Raptors lay in heaps, some trembling, some unconscious, all free. Mireille moved through them with medical equipment, treating the worst injuries. They'll need weeks of recovery, Mireille reported. Months for some. The neural damage from the collars is extensive. But they'll survive. Commander Voth stood among the creatures, her forearms crossed. We need to investigate who made these collars, who authorized testing on sentient creatures. Hana had been analyzing the collar technology. The signature traces back to a subsidiary of Calros Mining Corporation. They were developing aggression enhancement for security beasts. This swarm must have been their test group. Then Calros Mining has a lot to answer for, Voth said grimly. I'll be filing a full report with galactic authorities. As night fell on Calros 7, the Academy team made camp among the Void Raptors. The creatures freed from pain showed their true nature. They were pack animals, social and protective. The Alpha allowed her swarm to rest while she kept watch, though she never moved far from Day. Taeyang sat beside Day at a campfire. What happens now? When we return to the Academy? We'll probably be expelled, Day said. I stole Academy property, broke every regulation in the book. It was worth it, though, Hana added, joining them. We saved lives. Both the Academy team and these creatures. Mireille approached with her scanner. I've been thinking about what happened today. About how you communicated with the Alpha. Day, you did something remarkable. You bridged a gap between species that shouldn't have been possible. That Void Raptor had every reason to hate all humanoids, but you reached her anyway. She just needed someone to understand, Day said. Exactly, Mireille said. And that's what makes humans unique. You don't just bond with creatures. You empathize with them. You see past the surface to what they're feeling. That's not a skill you can learn. It's something humans evolved over thousands of years of living alongside animals. Commander Voth approached the fire. I've received a transmission from the Academy. They're aware of the situation. The headmaster wants to speak with you upon our return. To expel me? Day asked, possibly. Voth admitted. But I'll be recommending the opposite. What you did today broke regulations, yes. Hana's crystalline features shifted into a smile. Then I guess we better make sure you have a ship. Can't the instructor commanded bond with your creature? The human whistled and every beast answered. Breaking Ash out of medical containment was easier than expected. Hana overrode the security locks while Mirai distracted the night staff with a fabricated emergency about contaminated medical supplies. Day found Ash in a recovery cage, still groggy from sedatives but alive. The creature's eyes opened when Day approached. Despite the drugs in its system, Ash recognized him. The aggression was gone now that the poison had worked through its system. "I'm sorry," Day whispered, removing the restraints. "I should have known something was wrong. I won't let them erase you." Ash made a weak rumbling sound and pressed against him. "We need to move," Hana urged from the doorway. "Security will notice the override in minutes." But Day didn't head for the exit. Instead, he went to the beast hall. Hana grabbed his arm. "What are you doing?" "We need to leave." "We can't fight hundreds of void raptors with just Ash," Day said. "I need help, and I know exactly who to ask." The beast hall was dark and quiet, but when Day entered, the creatures stirred. He walked down the center aisle, whistling softly. Behind him, Hana and Miri watched in amazement as enclosure after enclosure opened from the inside. The creatures had learned to manipulate the locks during Day's nightly visits. 7 creatures emerged and approached him. A stormwing named Bai, capable of flight and electrical attacks. A whisper hound named Isolde, built for tracking and stealth. 5 others of various species, each drawn to Day's call. "You can't bond with all of them," Mirai said. "It's impossible." "I'm not bonding," Day replied. "I'm asking. There's a difference." He knelt down, putting himself at eye level with the creatures. "People are in danger. I need help rescuing them. It's going to be dangerous. You don't have to come." The creatures looked at each other, some kind of silent communication passing between them. Then one by one they moved to stand beside Ash. Their answer was clear. "They volunteer," Hana said, wonder in her voice. "They're actually volunteering." Alarms began blaring throughout the academy. Security had discovered the breaches. "Transport bay now." Hana led them through maintenance corridors she had mapped earlier. Mirai had already loaded medical supplies into a small academy ship. It wasn't designed for combat, just basic transport and training missions. They loaded the creatures into the cargo bay. Day could hear security teams searching the main corridors. Hana worked frantically at the ship's controls. "I can override the launch sequence, but the moment we leave, every ship in the academy will know," she said. "Do it," Day replied. The ship's engines roared to life. Launch doors opened overhead. Security burst into the transport bay just as the ship lifted off, too late to stop them. Within minutes, they were clear of the academy and accelerating toward Calrossi 7th. Hana set the autopilot and collapsed into a chair. "We just stole an academy ship and 8 creatures," she said. "We're going to be expelled. Possibly arrested. Possibly dead," Mirai added, checking her medical equipment. "The last transmission from Calros said the team was surrounded. If we arrive to find they've already been overrun, they're still alive," Day said with certainty. "Commander Voth is too stubborn to die." The flight to Calros took 6 hours. During that time, Mirai briefed them on void raptors. Pack hunters from a high-gravity world, extremely fast and coordinated, normally avoided settlements unless starving or threatened. "The question is why hundreds of them are attacking in the first place," Mirai said. "It goes against their natural behavior." Day sat with the creatures in the cargo bay. Ash had recovered fully, the poison finally out of its system. The other creatures rested nearby, but all of them watched Day with alert eyes. "I don't know if this will work," Day admitted to them. "I've never been in a real fight. I've only been training for a few weeks. You'd probably be better off with real riders." Bai, the stormwing, chirped and flapped its wings. Isolde, the whisper hound, placed its head in Day's lap. Ash rumbled softly. The message was clear. They trusted him. Hana's voice came over the intercom. "Approaching Calros 7, and, oh no," Day rushed to the cockpit. Through the viewport, he could see the mining colony, and surrounding the central facility, a writhing mass of void raptors. There had to be over 200 of them, circling like sharks. "The Academy team's shields are still holding," Hana reported, reading sensors. "But they're at 15% power. Maybe an hour left. Can we contact them?" Day asked. Hana tried several frequencies before getting a crackled response. Commander Voth's voice came through, strained and exhausted. "Unidentified ship, this is Commander Voth. Retreat immediately. The situation is..." Day, is that you? Yes, Commander. We came to help. There was a long pause. When Voth spoke again, her voice carried multiple emotions. Anger, relief, concern. You stole Academy property. You broke about 50 regulations. And you brought first-year backup to a combat zone. Yes, Commander. Another pause. Then almost softly, can you actually help? Day looked at the swarm below, at the impossible number of creatures surrounding the facility. I think so. But I need you to trust me. Trust you? You just committed grand theft. I know. But right now I'm all you've got. Voth was quiet for a moment. In the background, Day could hear the sound of weapons fire and shouting. What do you need? Tell your team to stop shooting for 5 minutes. No attacks, no aggression. Can you do that? That's insane. The moment we stop firing, they'll breach the shields. Please, Commander. 5 minutes. He heard Voth talking to others, debate and argument. Finally, she came back. You have 5 minutes. After that, we resume defensive fire whether you've done anything or not. Day turned to Mirai. You said their behavior was unnatural, like something is driving them to attack. Yes, but without examining them, I can't determine. If we could calm them down, could you find out what's wrong? Mirai's eyes widened with understanding. You want to approach the swarm? With Isul's stealth abilities and B's flight, we might be able to get close enough to observe them. Maybe capture one for examination. That's suicide, Hana said. Do you have a better idea? Neither of them answered. Day returned to the cargo bay and explained the plan to the creatures. Ash would stay with the ship as a last line of defense. Bai would carry Day into the air for reconnaissance. Isul and 2 others would create a distraction. The remaining creatures would wait for his signal. As the plan came together, Day felt the weight of what he was attempting. He was a first-year student with a few weeks of training, about to fly into a swarm of predators that had pinned down experienced riders. But when he looked at the creatures around him, he saw trust in their eyes. They believed he could do this. He couldn't let them down. Hana, bring us in low and quiet, Day said. Mirai, prepare your scanning equipment. We're going hunting. The ship descended toward the swarm. As they got closer, Day could see individual void raptors. They were larger than he expected, covered in dark scales that absorbed light. Their movements were jerky and aggressive, throwing themselves at the facility's shields repeatedly. Voth's voice crackled over the comm. Weapons fire has ceased. You have 5 minutes. Don't waste them. Day climbed onto B's back. The Stormwing spread its massive wings, electricity crackling along the edges. The cargo door opened and wind rushed in. Ready? Day asked. Bai chirped affirmatively. They dropped from the ship into the swarm. The Void Raptors noticed them immediately. Dozens of heads turned upward, tracking B's flight. But Isul and the other creatures had already started their distraction, moving along the ground and drawing attention away. Day flew over the swarm, close enough to see details. The creatures were injured. Scars covered their bodies. Their movements were painful, forced, and around their necks, barely visible, were metallic bands. Mirai, are you seeing this? Day spoke into his comm. Yes, those look like neural interface collars. Illegal in most systems. They can override a creature's natural behavior. Someone is controlling them? Possibly. Or the collars are malfunctioning, causing pain that drives them to aggression. I need to get closer to be sure. A void raptor leaped at them, jaws snapping. Bai banked hard, avoiding the attack. More raptors were jumping now, trying to bring them down. We need a specimen, Mirai said. Can you isolate one? Day scanned the swarm. At the center, larger than the others, was what had to be the alpha. A massive female covered in scars. She was the most aggressive, the most driven, and her collar glowed brighter than the others. There, Day pointed. The big one. Are you insane? That's the alpha. It'll kill you! Maybe. Or maybe she's the key to stopping this whole thing. Before Mirai could protest further, Day urged B into a dive. They dropped toward the alpha, wind screaming past them. Void raptors scattered or leaped at them. B's electrical attacks kept them at bay, but barely. They landed 20 feet from the alpha. The massive void raptor turned to face them, her eyes filled with rage and pain. She roared, a sound that shook the ground. Day dismounted from Bai. He held up his hands, showing no weapons. 4 minutes, Voth's voice warned over the comm. The alpha charged. Day stood his ground. And then, just like in the beast hall all those weeks ago, he whistled. The alpha stumbled, confused. The whistle didn't sound like prey. Didn't so. The instructor commanded, "Bond with your creature." The human whistled and every beast answered. The medical bay smelled like antiseptic and something metallic that Day couldn't identify. He sat on an examination table while 3 different specialists ran scanners over his body. Each one looked more confused than the last. "No pheromone enhancers," the first doctor said, studying his screen. "No telepathic amplifiers," added the second, a crystalline being whose body refracted light in strange patterns. The third doctor, whose species Day didn't recognize, checked the readings twice. "No artificial enhancements of any kind. He's completely natural." Commander Voth stood in the corner, her forearms crossed. She hadn't said a word since the examination began 2 hours ago. Her expression was unreadable. A soft-spoken researcher entered the room. Mirai was a Quillen, an amphibious species with smooth blue-green skin and large, thoughtful eyes. She carried a datapad and moved with careful deliberation. "Commander, I'd like to run some comparative analysis," Mirai said. "With your permission, I want to study Earth's evolutionary history." Voth nodded. "Do it, I want answers." For the next 3 days, Day became a research subject. Mirai interviewed him for hours about Earth animals, about his grandfather's sanctuary, about how humans interacted with different species. She seemed fascinated by the simplest details. "You kept carnivores and herbivores in the same location?" she asked during one session. "Well, yeah," Day said. "Dogs and cats lived with humans. Horses too, even birds. And they didn't hunt each other. Not if you trained them right. My grandfather always said animals are smarter than people think. They can learn whose family." Mirai made notes rapidly. "Remarkable." Meanwhile, the academy was in chaos. Word had spread about what happened in the Beast Hall. Students whispered in corridors. Instructors debated in faculty meetings. The Beast Hall itself remained closed, the creatures inside restless and agitated. A Zen theory student named Hana found Dai in the library 3 days after the incident. Her crystalline skin glowed faintly blue as she sat down across from him. "You're either the biggest fraud in academy history, or the most important student ever enrolled here," she said bluntly. Day looked up from his reading. "I'm not a fraud. I know." Hana pulled out her personal datapad. "I've been running simulations. The probability of every beast responding to a single stimulus by chance is mathematically impossible." "Something else is happening." "Like what?" Hana's crystalline features shifted in what might have been a smile. "That's what I want to find out. Will you help me?" Before Day could answer, Taeyang appeared with 2 other Vraxian students. Their red-scaled skin seemed to darken with anger. "You're under investigation, human," Taeyang said loudly. Everyone in the library turned to look. "When they prove you cheated, you'll be expelled." "I didn't cheat," Day said quietly. "Impossible. Humans are weak. You have no bonding abilities, no telepathy, no dominance. You're nothing compared to real writers." Hana stood up, her small frame somehow intimidating. "He passed every medical scan. Maybe you should accept that your assumptions are wrong." Taeyang sneered at her. "You're defending him because you're both freaks. A human who can't bond properly, and a Zen theory who wastes her talents on machines instead of beasts." Security arrived before the argument could escalate. They separated the students and issued warnings. But Day noticed that Taeyang's eyes followed him as he left, filled with something darker than simple rivalry. That evening, Commander Voth summoned Day to her office. Mirai was already there, along with the Academy's headmaster, a towering being with too many joints in their arms. "We have completed our investigation," the headmaster said. "You used no illegal enhancements, no forbidden technology. By all measurements, you are an unremarkable human." Day wasn't sure if that was supposed to be reassuring. Mirai stepped forward. "But I believe I know what happened. May I present my findings?" The headmaster gestured for her to continue. Mirai activated a holographic display. It showed Earth rotating slowly. Human evolutionary history is unique in the known galaxy. Most sapient species evolved alongside 1 or 2 compatible animal species. Keltharians with void serpents, Vraxians with flame drakes. We developed specialized bonding organs for specific creatures. The display changed, showing various Earth animals. Dogs, cats, horses, birds, fish, even insects. Humans evolved differently, Mirai continued. Earth has more biodiversity than almost any other planet in the sector. Humans didn't specialize. Instead, they developed behavioral empathy. The ability to read and respond to emotional states across species barriers. That's absurd, Voth said. Behavioral empathy can't work on creatures from different worlds. Can't it? Mirai pulled up footage from the beast hall. The moment Day whistled and every creature responded. Look at what he did. He didn't use dominance. He didn't use mental commands. He used a simple auditory signal that communicated non-aggression and openness. The hologram showed close-ups of different creatures. The thunderworm responded because the whistle's frequency matched their greeting calls. The razor mites responded because it mimicked their colony communication patterns. The flying creatures recognized it as a song. Each species interpreted the same whistle differently, but all understood the underlying emotion. Invitation. Friendship. Day stared at the images. He hadn't known any of that. He'd just whistled the way his grandfather taught him. Humans spent 10,000 years domesticating animals, Mirai said. They learned to communicate with species that had completely different sensory systems. They bonded with pack hunters and solitary predators, with prey animals and scavengers. They didn't change the animals to fit them. They learned to understand what each animal needed. The headmaster leaned forward. Are you suggesting humans are naturally superior beast riders? No, Mirai said carefully. I'm suggesting they're naturally adaptable ones. Where we use specific biological bonding mechanisms, humans use observation and empathy. It's slower, less precise, but potentially compatible with far more species. Voth shook her head. Even if this is true, Academy rules are clear. One student, one beast. We cannot allow him to bond with multiple creatures. The political implications alone. I understand, Day interrupted. Everyone turned to look at him. I'll choose one beast, like everyone else? The headmaster seemed relieved. Very well. You have until tomorrow to make your selection. Choose wisely. Day left the office with his mind racing. Mirai caught up to him in the hallway. I know what you're going to choose, she said softly. Yeah? The broken one. Ash. You're going to choose the creature everyone else rejected. Day stopped walking. How did you know? Mirai's large eyes reflected understanding. Because that's what humans do, isn't it? You don't choose the strongest or the easiest. You choose the ones who need you most. That night, Day couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Ash locked in that reinforced cage, about the scars and the pain in its eyes, about the datapad that labeled it as aggressive and dangerous. Hana found him sitting outside his dormitory at midnight. Can't sleep either? She asked, sitting beside him. I keep thinking about the creatures in the beast hall, Day admitted. They're still calling. I can feel it somehow, Hana nodded. I've been monitoring the hall's sensors. The creatures have been agitated since you left, especially one. She showed him her datapad. It displayed stress readings from the various enclosures. One spiked far higher than the others. Ash. It's not eating, Hana said. It injured itself trying to break out of its cage. The handlers don't understand why, Dee did. Ash wasn't trying to escape. It was trying to reach him. Tomorrow, when I choose Ash, everyone will think I'm stupid, Day said. They'll say I chose wrong. Maybe, Hana agreed. Or maybe you'll prove that the strongest bonds aren't made with the perfect creatures. Maybe they're made with the broken ones who need someone to believe in them. The next morning, Day entered the beast hall with Commander Voth and 3 handlers. The creatures erupted again at his presence, calling and moving toward him. But Day walked straight to Ash's reinforced cage. The creatures stared at him through the bars. Up close, Day could see every scar, every broken spine, every sign of past trauma. This one, Day said. Voth frowned. That creature has failed 3 bonding attempts. It's violent and unpredictable. No, Day said quietly. It's scared and hurt. There's a difference. He whistled the same tune from before. Ash's ears twitched. The aggression in its posture softened slightly. This is my choice, Day said. I choose Ash. Voth studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded to the handlers. Open the cage. The instructor commanded, bond with your creature. The human whistled and every beast answered. The handlers opened Ash's cage with obvious fear. They kept shock sticks ready, standing well back from the opening. Commander Voth positioned herself between Day and the creature, her forearms ready to intervene. Ash didn't charge out. The creature stayed inside the cage, watching Day with suspicious eyes. Its scarred body remained tense, ready to fight or flee. Day held up his hands, showing he had no weapons. He didn't approach. Instead, he sat down on the floor, making himself small and non-threatening. Then he whistled again, Soft and gentle, minutes passed. The handlers shifted nervously. Voth's hand moved toward her comm device, ready to call for backup. Slowly, Ash took one step forward, then another. The creature emerged from the cage, its clawed feet scraping against the floor. It was larger than Day had realized. Easily twice his size, covered in thick scales and broken spines. Ash circled him once, twice. Day stayed still, breathing slowly, keeping his hands visible. On the third circle, Ash stopped directly in front of him. The creature lowered its massive head until its nose almost touched Day's face. They stayed like that for a long moment. Day could smell the creature's breath, could see old wounds around its eyes, could feel the tension in its massive frame. "It's okay," Day whispered. "Nobody's going to hurt you anymore." Something in Ash's posture changed. The creature made a low rumbling sound and pressed its head against Day's shoulder. Not aggressive, almost affectionate, one of the handlers exhaled in disbelief. "I've never seen it do that." Over the following weeks, Day and Ash trained together. While other students practiced complex commands and battle formations, Day focused on building trust. He learned what Ash liked and didn't like. He discovered that the creature preferred quiet spaces and gentle movements. That loud noises made it aggressive because poachers had used sonic weapons during its capture. Hana visited their training sessions often, documenting everything. "You're doing it differently than the manual teaches," she observed one day. "The manual is written for other species," Day said, brushing dirt from Ash's scales. "Humans don't have telepathy or pheromone control. We have to actually pay attention." "That's not a disadvantage," Hana said thoughtfully. "That might be the advantage, but not everyone saw it that way." Taiyang spread rumors throughout the academy. The humans' bond was shallow. Ash would turn on him eventually. Real riders dominated their beasts, not coddled them. During combat training exercises, the differences became obvious. Taiyang's flame drake, named Rock, responded to mental dominance. When Taiyang commanded, Rock obeyed instantly but without enthusiasm. The creature performed perfectly but mechanically. Ash responded differently. When Day asked, the creature seemed to consider before acting. Sometimes Ash disagreed with Day's commands and suggested better approaches through body language. They worked as partners, not master and servant. "Your beast is disobedient," Taiyang sneered after one session. "Mine follows every command perfectly." "Does it want to?" Day asked. The question seemed to confuse Taiyang. "Want to? It doesn't matter what it wants. It's a beast." That night, something changed in the academy. A distress signal arrived from Calrosa 7, a mining colony 3 star systems away. Wild void raptors were attacking settlements. The academy was deploying senior students and instructors as a training mission. Commander Voth announced the deployment roster during breakfast. 20 senior students, 5 instructors, and their bonded beasts. Taiyang's name was on the list. Day's was not. "First-year students remain at the academy," Voth declared. "This mission is for experienced riders only." But something bothered Day. Despite choosing Ash, despite following academy rules, the other beasts in the hall still responded to him. Every night he heard them calling. And every night he visited them secretly, unable to ignore their need for connection. Hana had discovered him 3 nights ago sitting in the beast hall at midnight, surrounded by creatures that had somehow opened their own enclosures to get closer to him. "You're breaking about 17 academy regulations," she had said. "I know, but I can't just ignore them." Hana had sat down beside him. "I won't tell anyone." "But Day, if Taiyang finds out, he'll use it against you." She was right to worry. Taiyang had been watching Day carefully, looking for any mistake. The rivalry had grown beyond simple competition. Taiyang saw Day as a threat to everything he believed about proper beast riding. The deployment team prepared for 3 days. Day watched from the sidelines as they loaded equipment and supplies. Ash sensed his frustration and stayed close, offering silent support. On the morning of departure, disaster struck. Day arrived at the training grounds to find chaos. Ash was outside his enclosure, thrashing wildly, attacking training equipment and handlers. The creature's eyes were wild, unfocused. Foam dripped from its mouth. "Ash!" Day ran forward, but handlers grabbed him. "Stay back."
"It's gone feral."
Day struggled against their grip. "Something's wrong. This isn't normal." Commander Voth arrived, her expression grim. "The creature is displaying extreme aggression. This is exactly what happened during its previous bonding attempts." "No," Day insisted. "Yesterday Ash was fine. Something changed. Something happened, but Voth wasn't listening. She signaled for tranquilizer weapons. Sedate it and return it to reinforced containment. This bonding has failed. You can't. Day broke free from the handlers and ran toward Ash. The creature turned on him, snarling, raising clawed limbs to strike. Day didn't run. He stood his ground and whistled. The same tune from the first day. Gentle and calm. For a moment, Ash hesitated. Something flickered in the creature's eyes. Recognition. But then the aggression surged back and Ash lunged. Voth tackled Day out of the way. Tranquilizer darts hit Ash from 3 directions. The creature fought the sedatives, roaring and thrashing before finally collapsing. In the silence that followed, Voth helped Day to his feet. I'm sorry. The bond is unstable. For your safety and the creature's, it must be reconditioned. Reconditioned? Day repeated numbly. Mirai stepped forward, her expression sad. Memory wipe. The creature will forget everything, including you. It's the only way to remove aggressive imprinting. No, please, something's wrong. Ash wouldn't just... The decision is made, Voth said firmly. You're grounded from the Calros mission. Report to academic classes until further notice. As handlers dragged Ash's unconscious form away, Hana pulled Day aside. I believe you. Something doesn't add up. What do I do? Day felt lost. They're going to erase Ash's memory. Everything we built together. We find proof, Hana said. If something triggered the aggression, there will be evidence. Come on. They spent the next 6 hours accessing security footage. Hana's natural ability to interface with electronic systems made her an expert at navigating the Academy's networks. They reviewed every moment of the past 3 days, looking for anything unusual. Finally, Hana froze the playback. There, look. The footage showed the beast enclosures at night. A figure moved between them. Taeyang. He was placing something in Ash's feeding container. Can you enhance that? Day asked. Hana manipulated the image. The object in Taeyang's hand came into focus. A small vial with medical markings. Mirai studied the image over their shoulders. She had joined them an hour earlier, concerned about the situation. That's a hormonal aggression inducer. Illegal in Academy settings. It would make any creature violent and unpredictable within 12 to 18 hours. He sabotaged Ash, Day said, anger rising in his chest. He poisoned my creature to prove I couldn't bond properly. We need to show this to Commander Voth immediately, Mirai said. They ran through the Academy corridors, reaching Voth's office out of breath. But they found it empty. A junior instructor informed them that Voth and the entire deployment team had already left for Calros 7. We can send a message, Hana said. It'll take hours to reach them in transit, Mirai replied. And by then, an alarm blared through the Academy. Emergency alerts flashed on every screen. The junior instructor's face went pale as he read the incoming message. The Calros mission team is in trouble. The Void Raptor situation was misreported. They're not dealing with a small pack. It's a swarm. Hundreds of creatures. The team is requesting immediate backup. Another message followed. Communications with the team were failing. Last report indicated they were pinned down at the mining facility. Shields failing. Casualties mounting. The junior instructor started coordinating with Academy Command. Every available senior writer was being scrambled. But it would take hours to assemble a proper response team. Day stared at the screens showing the Calros situation. Commander Voth was there. Taeyang was there. 20 students and 5 instructors trapped and surrounded. We have to help them, Day said. We're first-year students, Hana reminded him. We're not authorized for combat missions. Day thought about Ash, sedated and scheduled for memory wipe. About the creatures in the beast hall who still called to him every night. About his grandfather's words. Every animal speaks, you just need to listen. I'm not going to sit here while people die, Day said. I'm going to Calros. Mirai and Hana exchanged glances. That's against every Academy regulation, Mirai said carefully. You'd be stealing Academy property. Endangering yourself. Possibly court-martialed. I know. The instructor commanded, bond with your creature. The human whistled and every beast answered. The morning sun cast strange purple light across the Galactic Academy's training grounds. Day stood in line with 40 other students, his hands sweating despite the cool air. Around him, aliens of every shape and size waited for their turn. Some had scales. Others had fur or skin that glowed faintly. A few didn't even have faces he could recognize. He was the only human. Commander Voth paced in front of them, her forearms clasped behind her back. Her copper-colored scales caught the light as she moved. She had been a legend in the Rim Wars, bonded to a creature so fearsome that entire fleets retreated at the sight of it. Now she trained the next generation of beast riders at the most prestigious academy in 17 star systems. Bonding is not a game, Voth said, her voice carrying across the courtyard. The creature you bond with today will be your partner for life. It will fight beside you. It will trust you with its life, and you will trust it with yours. Day listened carefully. He had studied everything he could about the academy before arriving. Beast riders were elite warriors, scouts, and peacekeepers across the galaxy. Each species had their own way of bonding. The Keltharians, like Voth, used pheromone matching. The Xanthiri interfaced mentally through their crystalline neural structures. The Vraxians dominated through displays of strength. Humans had no special abilities, no telepathy, no natural dominance, nothing that made bonding easy. You will enter the beast halls one at a time, Voth continued. Inside you will find dozens of creatures. Do not attempt to bond with more than one. Do not use artificial enhancements. Do not use weapons or restraints. A true bond is formed through natural compatibility. The first student entered the massive doors of the beast hall. Day could hear roaring and screeching from inside. 20 minutes later, the student emerged with a wolf-sized creature covered in crystalline spines. The creature walked calmly beside its new rider. One by one, students disappeared into the hall and returned bonded. Some took an hour, others took mere minutes. A Vraxian noble named Tai Yang emerged in less than 10 minutes with a massive red-scaled beast that breathed smoke. He looked at Day with a smug expression as he passed. Finally, Voth called his name. Day, human, you're next. Day walked forward on shaking legs. The other students whispered as he passed. Humans were rare in the academy. In 3,000 years of operation, only 5 had ever graduated, and none had become notable riders. I expect nothing from you, Voth said quietly as he reached the doors. Humans lack the biological compatibility for proper bonding. But you paid your enrollment, so you get your chance. The doors opened. Day stepped inside. The beast hall was enormous. The ceiling stretched up into darkness. Cages and enclosures lined the walls, stacked 3 stories high. Inside each one, a creature waited. Some paced. Others slept. A few watched him with intelligent eyes. Day walked down the center aisle. He saw creatures as small as cats and others as large as transport ships. Things with wings, things with tentacles, things with too many legs to count. The air smelled like 100 different animals all at once. His instructor's words echoed in his mind. Find natural compatibility. Let the creature choose you as much as you choose it. But how could he find compatibility with something he'd never seen before? These weren't Earth animals. These were creatures from dozens of different worlds, evolved in ways he couldn't begin to understand. Day stopped walking. He thought about home, about his grandfather's animal sanctuary back on Earth. Hundreds of creatures had lived there. Dogs, cats, horses, birds, even injured wildlife that needed help. His grandfather had taught him something simple. Every animal speaks, the old man had said. You just need to learn to listen. And sometimes you need to speak first. Day took a deep breath. Then he whistled. It was a simple tune. 3 notes rising, 2 notes falling. The same whistle his grandfather had used to call the dogs at feeding time. Clear and melodic, carrying through the massive hall. What happened next would be talked about for generations. Every creature in the beast hall reacted at once. A massive thunderworm, coiled in the largest enclosure, lifted its house-sized head. Smaller razor mites stopped their skittering and turned toward him. Flying creatures landed on their perches. Predators stopped pacing. Even the creatures that had been sleeping opened their eyes. Hundreds of alien beasts from dozens of different worlds, all focused on the small human in the center of the hall. Then they responded. The thunderworm made a deep rumbling sound that vibrated through the floor. The flying creatures chirped and sang. The razor mites clicked their mandibles in rhythm. Each creature added their own voice, creating a chorus of alien sounds that somehow harmonized with Day's simple whistle. Outside the beast hall, Commander Voth's head snapped toward the doors. The other students stopped talking. Everyone could hear the noise. What is that? Someone asked. Voth's eyes widened. In 30 years as an instructor, she had never heard the beasts react like this. She started running toward the entrance. Inside, Day stood frozen. The creatures weren't aggressive. They weren't scared. They were interested, curious. Some of the smaller ones pressed against their enclosure walls, trying to get closer to him. A scarred creature in a reinforced cage caught his attention. It looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard, covered in broken spines and old wounds. The datapad on its cage read, "Ash aggressive, 3 failed bondings." While every other creature called out or moved toward him, Ash just stared. But there was something in its eyes. Not aggression, pain, loneliness. The doors burst open. Commander Voth entered with 4 Academy guards. She stared at the scene before her. Every beast in the hall was focused on Day. Every single one. "Impossible," she whispered. Day turned to face her, confused. I just whistled. Like I would back home. Voth walked slowly toward him, her forearms spread in a gesture of shock. In 3,000 years, no student has ever made every beast respond. "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," Day said. "I just called them, like you would call a dog." "You don't understand," Voth said. "These creatures are from different worlds, different evolutionary paths. Some are reptilian, some are mammalian, some are things that don't exist on Earth. They shouldn't all respond to the same stimulus, but they had. And they were still watching him, waiting." Voth made a decision. "Everyone out. Clear the hall. No one touches anything." The guards ushered Day out. As he left, he looked back at the creatures. They watched him go with what he could only describe as disappointment, especially Ash, the scarred one. It pressed against the bars of its cage, making a low sound in its throat. Outside, the other students gathered around, asking questions Day couldn't answer. Taeyang pushed through the crowd. He must have used illegal enhancements, Taeyang declared. Humans can't bond with beasts naturally. Voth silenced him with a look. He will be tested. Until we understand what happened, Day is not allowed to return to the beast hall. As the guards led him away for medical scanning, Day could still hear the creatures inside. They were calling out, their voices carrying through the thick walls. They were calling for him, and deep in his chest, something told him he needed to answer.